When those temperatures soar, the risk of heat stroke also increases, and it can be deadly. The CDC says more than 600 people in the U.S. die each year from extreme heat. The recent heat wave in the Pacific Northwest was blamed for nearly 200 deaths. And there are fears that the newest heat wave in the Southwest could be just as severe. Our senior medical correspondent, Dr. Narula, is here to show us how to prevent heat stroke. And I think, people hear heat stroke, they hear heat exhaustion, but what do you really need to look out for?
Well, heat stroke is really the most serious form of heat-related illness, and it's actually considered a medical emergency. And if you don't deal with it appropriately in time, it can lead to organ dysfunction and death. And so really it's defined by this rapid increase in temperature to where your body temperature is over 104 degrees. And that's associated with dysfunction of your central nervous system. So some of the symptoms to look out for are nausea and vomiting, headache, loss of consciousness or confusion or dizziness, muscle cramping. Your skin might become hot, red, dry, flushed. And then you may begin to have a rapid heartbeat or even rapid shallow breathing. And so important, if you are with somebody who you think might be experiencing heat stroke, call 911, quickly move them to someplace cooler and get them cooled down with either sponges or ice bath or shower to try to get their temperature down to 101 or 102.
Well, that's what I think is interesting. I think people don't take it that seriously. They think, oh, it's not a big deal.
Right.
No need to call 911, but you really have to quickly move on this. And is it important to drink water? I've heard varying things that maybe you shouldn't give people water.
Right. Well, in that situation, when you're dealing with somebody who may be having an emergency, you don't want to give them anything to drink because their mental status may not be completely there. But certainly in terms of avoiding it, you want to make sure that you're hydrating. Even if you don't feel thirsty, you want to drink enough fluids. And you don't want to drink things like caffeine or alcohol or sugary beverages. Those things might actually dehydrate you. Other things you might want to think about doing, obviously wearing sunscreen, because sunburn can make you more prone to being unable to regulate your temperature. AC, so important, even if it's for 2 to 3 hours a day. If you don't have it at home, getting to a public library or a mall where you can be inside, avoiding cooking with ovens or stoves that's going to heat up your house. So there are tips and things that you can do preventively and proactively.
Well, that was the problem in the Pacific Northwest, is so many people didn't have air conditioning.
Right.
Yeah. Well, how fast can it come on, Tara?
It can come on pretty quickly, so your temperature can rise. If you're at that point where you're about to become a heat stroke patient, within 10 to 15 minutes, your temperature can go above 106. And there are certainly populations that are more vulnerable. So we think about the extremes of ages, so infants and kids up to 4, and then those over 65. Those who are on certain chronic medications like blood pressure medicines, antihistamines, diuretics, antidepressants. Also those with chronic medical conditions, things like cardiovascular disease, and people who obviously have to work outside. So really important to pay attention to those populations.
Yeah, very serious condition, but it is preventable. Dr. Narula, thank you very much.